To order of the Latimer Brown House Restoration Ad-Hoc Committee. And Mr. King, would you mind saying the invocation?
Sure. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to come together and serve the citizens of Sumner County. And we thank you for William and Martha Brown and their generous gift that they left to Sumner County and the legacy they leave. Lord, we ask that any discussion or action we take tonight will be grounded in truth, and only then can we truly honor the memory of Mr. and Mrs. Brown. And so we thank you, and we ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, I have a motion for the approval of the agenda. Motion by Commissioner Miller, second by Commissioner Klein. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion for approval of minutes. So moved. Motion by Commissioner Klein. Have a second? Second by Commissioner, All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Recognition of the public. We have Mr. Thomas Latimer. The historian.
I guess everybody's seen me before. I'm Thomas Latimer, 264 Hess Road, Portland. I just have a couple of questions. I won't take up much time. Number one, how can anybody in 8 years' time take a beautiful, picturesque home and turn it into abandoned wasteland? That's what's happening. The second question, I'm not expecting an answer. But the second question, if Mr. Brown gave this money 8 years ago and the property and nothing at all has been done, was it a gift or a scam?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Latimer. All right, that concludes recognition of the public. Old business, well, I guess we have none, but ties into new business. So, new business item A, discussion Latimer Brown House RFQ, RFP, and the TDEC PRM, which is the Permittee Responsible Mitigation. I'd like a motion just to suspend the rules so we can ask questions, talk a little bit. All right, second by Commissioner Miller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Dustin, obviously we were supposed to have the RFQ bid opening on Monday, and we had a little bit of an unexpected surprise. Explain to us.
Okay, so on August 11th, per the RFQ, anybody who wanted to place a bid was to meet at Latimer Brown House, take a tour. At that point in time, Mr. Scott Shamrock with the Department of Finance discovered there were the keep out, riparian buffer zone signs that were placed across the property. So at that point in time, we had reached out to TDEC to ask if that was one of their signs that they had put up. And we requested a meeting with them on August 14th. On August 14th, we had the meeting. Department of Finance in attendance was the finance director as well as the director of law.
So who did you meet with TDEC?
With TDEC, we met with the project manager. Her name is Sydney, as well as Ed, who is her supervisor, and then his supervisor was in attendance as well via phone. So at that point in time, we were advised that TDEC was not aware of who placed the signs on the property. The log cabin was not mentioned as part of the original permits. There were debits and credits that had to be done because the two schools were building near creek beds. They wanted to offset any of the runoff from the water.
Can you explain what you mean by debits and credits when they bought this land 12 years ago and built this,
So if you're building the property on an area that you're creating an impervious surface near a creek, you're wanting to offset that impervious surface elsewhere. And so that itself would be a debit because you're creating a need, and then you'd have to offset it with a credit. Now you can purchase a credit through TDEC or a landholder, or you can offset it somewhere else on your land. And they chose the latter, which is to offset it on the land or on the property.
Where do they offset it?
So if you're looking at the original drawings, it appears that they had offset near what they are determining to be the creek beds, and they have increased a buffer area to help offset the impervious surface that was built by the schools, or that occurred due to the building of the schools.
You mean creek bed, you mean down through here? because the creek is on the other side of the roadbed opposite where the.
So they're saying that there are creeks also on this side of the property as well. So we'll get to that in a second. So looking at it, that was one of the areas of concern is how far do the new buffer zones go? Does it encroach onto the structure for the log cabin that needs to be renovated, number one? And number two, is there a way for us to still get back there to there? If the buffer zone increased, do we still have ingress egress to access the structure that is there? And so at last Friday, Ed with TDEC said that we could not do anything at this point in time because he thought it was in there, number one, and there was some uncertainty exactly where the building was in the new plan. And so with that in mind, with the RFQ not stating that we now have to worry about this new riparian buffer, which was not included in our scope for those that are wanting to bid on the project, we closed the RFQ, so that way we could reassess the situation and also add those elements into the RFQ so that all parties that wanted to bid on it could. And so at that point in time, after that was done, Sydney had responded back saying the house was not in a riparian buffer zone. However, TDEC did not mention about the ingress or egress. And so we're still wondering how we are going to get back to the property. A question has gone back to TDEC and requested it. So, to keep everybody on the same page, if you were to Google TDEC and Data Viewer, you would come across this page. And they have a Data Viewer page. And so what the Data Viewer page is, you have a list of data viewers to choose from, whether it's solid waste management. In this case, it is the Division of Water Resources. If you were to click on that link, it would bring you here, and then you would have to find the permit. On the left-hand side, the permit number is NRS 20.029 ARAP.
Where do you, which page?
Page 1, right-hand side. And so that is the area that we're looking into and concerned about. If you were just to put in Sumner County, you would get multiple ones, not only for us being Sumner County government, but you would also have some for the school district. And so this is the one that has caused us to have a raised eyebrow. If you were to look, the permit itself was to expire on June 30th of this year. However, based upon the documentation that is in the viewer, we have, at this point in time, Mr. Long with the school system has submitted a new PRM for aquatic resource alteration permits. I have yet to see that permit or what they have presented. Ed with TDEC has said that he would be reaching out to them to make sure that make sure the house was not included in the buffer zone, and that is where we currently are. So right now we are in a holding pattern. We're wanting to move forward to do the RFQ and to include the new information and to make sure the house is accessible as well as maintained. But right now we're concerned about the accessibility portion, because even if we were to drive off the road, we still have the curb to worry about and trying to get into going in that way. Should there be ways to access it via the main road?
Whenever this property was donated, sold, mixed together, and Mr. Brown had specified what he wanted to be done with the house, why, when they were doing all the layout for the schools and everything, did they not take the time to go ahead and put an entrance into the house right there?
That would be a question that you would need to address with the school system. The best way that TDEC has described the situation to me is think of it as a joint checking account where they're looking at everything being done. You know, your spouse can write as many checks as they want to, and so in this case, the school system was writing the checks through their consulting firm, being the Davy Group, to create the buffer zone and the plans for the area.
It makes you think, just looking at it from a certain point of view, that they never had any intention of doing anything with the house, if they just want to leave it set there. And did they ever determine who put the signs up? I mean, if TDEC doesn't know, somebody driving around with a truckload full of TDEC signs, they just hammer up where they want to?
If it was a TDEC sign, being a former TDEC employee, we would have the QR code on the side, so it's not a TDEC sign, and it wasn't done by the county government. So at this point in time that we're aware of, so that means that another interested or vested party may have put up the signs.
The only people who would have put that up is the school district. So, but, you know, I know that we need to talk in plain language here, and, I mean, some people at this table are not allowed to do that, but I am. And so, Mr. Owens, I'm looking at Reach A, 600 lineal feet, that says it's a stream habitat planted within buffer and watershed. Stream habitat enhancement, I don't even know what that means, but that is not a stream.
It's a dry gully, is what it is, broed up dry gully.
It's not even a gully, it's a low area.
Yeah, and it is swampy down next to the road right there.
If there's a big concern about the environment with that and everything, what about all the chemicals that have been dumped on it to kill all the vegetation and everything? There's been a considerable amount of chemicals dumped in there, especially close to the school. You would think that they would be the water and the school, you think they'd be a little bit sensitive to that.
If I may,
Sure.
I think we need to focus on here is the fact this is already in play because people put it in play many years ago. We're trying to get a reevaluation, for lack of a better word, and a alignment of this buffer.
Mm-hmm.
So we could do the who shot John all day long. We're still at the same point. So until we get TDEC to get on board with us as a co-owner of the property to do this realignment, we're going to be in a holding pattern until then.
Well, here's the problem as I see it, Mr. Senator. Don Long jumped first, and so all the correspondence is working through him. He beat us to the finish line on this issue because we didn't even know about it. And so now the control appears to be through the school district as a co-owner with us. And how do we get a fair seat at the table to talk about this when we cannot get their attorneys, Mr. Long? The only one we can ever talk to is Mr. Langford. That's about half the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we're being stalled here. We all know it. We might as well call it spade a spade. Neither Reach A or Reach B are part of, neither of those are creeks. And you can say that the green slashed area is, what do they call that? A contributing force of native range. Yeah. That's basically the area that is marked off with signage. Well, that was cattle grazing, to the best of my knowledge. Mike, you would know that better.
That's exactly what it was, it's pasture land.
So now all of a sudden, it's protected because of the blue salamander. And that's ridiculous. No salamander could live up there after the poison they put on that grazing area 3 months ago when Mike was trying to mow it. And so we're being stalled here. And we need to just push forward and have meetings with whomever we need to have meetings with and challenge whatever's going on here, because it's like this kind of white open space parks lawn area where Reach A 600 feet, the R is in part of it. You can see Mr. Brown's old driveway, so that's basically where the house is. Well, that's called open space. That is not a riparian buffer zone. And so why we can't put a driveway there, access the house that's clearly not in a riparian buffer zone, you know, if Reach A did have a buffer zone, from what I read on TDEC, that should be a maximum of about 60 feet wide.
I think
The
that's
house-
correct.
Huh?
I think that's correct, but the problem is it's 60 foot. The 60-foot buffer runs on a piece of that property, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, a piece of what the lot that the house is on? I seriously doubt.
I don't see it. Where are you getting that from?
I'm just going off prior discussions with TDEC.
I seriously doubt the house or the driveway is on the riparian buffer zone if there was a stream there. And like I say, that's the first thing that needs to be challenged. Every nuisance drainage area across a farm is not a riparian buffer zone.
Sorry guys, we're gonna get soon, all the doors to the building unlocked.
So, you know, I'm ready to go to war on this because I'm so sick to be tired about it. But I want to do it right, but I want to do it because this is ridiculous that it's taking this long. So,
I have a question real quick. Go ahead. I'm looking at this handout you gave us from TDEC, I guess. It says on May 15th, really, they was on Long had put in a request to, an aquatic resource alteration permit. So, you're talking 3.5 months ago that this was, almost 4 months ago, this request was put in by Don Long School Board. Like, what were they requesting? What was he requesting? What is this, it didn't explain what it requested.
So the request and the map itself are unavailable on Data Viewer. All we have access to right now is what is in front of us. So
We don't know what they were requesting.
we have not seen it, no, sir.
Well, I mean, in TDEC, can they not share that with us?
They have not shared it with us in one day.
Have we asked for them to share it with us?
We've asked for it to be shared, and all data, that's all data that they can share right now is on Data Viewer.
Why is that? Does that make any sense? I mean, this is public property owned by the county as a co-owner in Juris Park. So I don't understand how they can prohibit us from seeing what's being requested.
That one I don't know. I mean, if that's something that.
I'll need to be a part of that next conversation because we're co-owners, so I don't know why we're not getting the information.
They can't.
So I have no idea.
Should that not have been brought forward to y'all whenever it was requested?
No, they had no reason to second guess it because they were an owner of the property.
So I guess.
Well, it's owner, co-owner, it's like, that's all they see when you're walking in the door at TDEC is, do you own the property? Yes.
Sure. Well, to this point, can you follow up with Dustin, like, immediately to ask, like, okay, if they're not giving this to us, we need to crack some whips, but we need to see what Don Long actually applied for on May 15th, almost 4 months ago, because this is what's holding us up. Like, what are they trying to do?
I get it, yeah.
I would assume it's, I could be wrong, but I would assume it's hostile to our intent to restore this, but I could be wrong.
Do we not have the right to, as co-owner of this property, to all documentation?
That's my whole point.
We do.
I don't know why we're not getting it. I was unaware of that.
Okay.
So I'll get with, or Dustin will remind me, because I'll forget in 15 minutes, but,
I'll remind you.
I'm sure you will. But we'll get together. He's got some points of contact out there, and I'll see what I can find out.
I have a question about the riparian buffer. You said it's a 60-foot width.
I guess.
Well, I mean, I'm looking at these park plans, right? They've got a paved access way here. Is the riparian buffer right there? And if so, would they have to, I guess, credit or debit that water runoff or whatever it is in order to put in a paved access way? How would that work? If right now it's a riparian buffer, but later they're going to turn it into a paved pathway, what's keeping them from going ahead and saying this riparian buffer we're going to move it, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because on the original plans for their park plan.
Yeah, I have it right here.
They have paved parking lot, they had lights, they had,
Yeah,
they had, all, in the amphitheater, yeah, there's the parking.
Yeah, there's a parking lot, and so I'm like, wouldn't that disrupt the water and erosion by putting in all that?
What's different than what we're doing, trying to get access to the house, which is way less impactful than that.
Yeah, because all we're doing, or all this.
I don't know how far they got with TDEC on that submittal, because they were still, that's when all of this came up, was when they were submitting that, we were trying to figure out the conflict with the, will. So I don't know that this ever got submitted to TDEC. So they may not have looked at it, made any plans to it, so I don't know.
Stephen, how come you don't know anything being a school board member? Did they not tell you how to?
There's not been any discussion or, as far as I know, any, communication on this whatsoever. So, there's not been any emails sent to the board. The board has not had it discussed in a study session. There's been nothing. I've not been there's been no discussion at all. So, that's where it stands. So I don't know anything. I don't know anything about this application or this request that was made by our project manager. Yeah, I don't know anything about it.
It's the first you've heard of this.
Yes, this is the first I've heard of it.
So,
Yeah.
Eric, can you speak to this? If they can do things as a co-owner of the property, who is the co-owner of the property? The school board and the county commission?
I don't have the deed in front of me, I'm not exactly sure what the wording is, but I believe it's
That
the
needs
school
to be
board.
investigated, because if the school board is not making these decisions and it's being done unilaterally by one individual, whether it's Scott Langford or Don Long or whoever's doing these things, that's not right.
Well, let's say for the sake of argument, it says school board, that's not gonna affect TDEC in any way, shape, or form.
When they go in and apply for,
They're not gonna do a title search on every piece of property that comes across TDEC's desk.
I have to look at, I have this document here. I have to double check, but it's a warranty deed, is that, and it says Sumner County and Sumner County Board of Education.
There you go, that's what it is, Sumner County Board of Education.
so these decisions should be being made by his board, and he should be aware of them and approve them before they take place.
Yeah, but you're getting out of my wheelhouse, I got no authority over or purview over
No,
that.
I understand that, but likewise, I should be able to call TDEC and ask these same questions. They should give me all the information too, just because I'm saying I'm authorized to do it. No
Well,
one says
I think
am.
we're reliving the same conversation. Yes, I agree with you 100%. That's why Dustin and I need to reach out and say, hey, I'm an owner too, give me the info.
Okay.
And that's what Dustin and I are gonna do.
I have to tell you, in conversation with,
Just real quick, Dustin doesn't have a hard stop at 6.
Yeah.
So Eric said it's going to be Michael.
yeah, our contact, or what the website says our contact, is a gal named Clarissa. And she's trying to find this stuff out for us as well. And they're really in the dark, you know, they said they're not our signs. We're trying to figure out when this happened. The people who are in position now at TDEC had nothing to do with the original property design and everything. And so, you know, I just have to tell you, I think we're being hoodwinked here. This is Plan B, because Plan A didn't work.
Those signs have been made up in one of the county shops to look like a TDEC sign, just like.
Well, these signs appeared a day or two after Mr. McClard asked County Mayor Isabel to mow the lawn.
Yep.
And
Say that one more time.
this is a couple months ago. Okay. What did you ask Lenny for two, or just?
No, I just asked, the mayor.
So,
What I asked him, I said, can you see about mowing around the house? Because the grass was in the front, with real thick trees, probably that high. It was well over knee high in the back, where there's more sunshine. And, he said he had turned that all over to the director of schools.
and then this sign shows up saying, absolutely no mowing of vehicles allowed.
So are those signs stopping us from something right now?
Well, it says keep out.
No, I know.
And it says in fines by the state wildlife and state of
No,
Tennessee.
the signs aren't stopping us, but Dustin called TDEC, and TDEC is now
Yeah.
stopping us.
But because TDEC is investigating what these are?
No, they're making sure they know what the
Everybody needs to get about the signs moving forward, and nothing to do with
Yeah, back to my question about the riparian buffer, you've got a roadway. If you look at the property, there's
the existing driveway.
The driveway going up to the property, clearly that's not a buffer.
No, it's gravel.
That's been there. It's not affecting the water, directing the water or anything, and the vegetation, the natural vegetation that's, I guess, contributing to the creek flow and all that. Are these signs, who's got jurisdiction authority with these signs? I can go to Walmart and get a sign that says no trespassing.
Well, we're not worried about signs.
I'm just saying,
The assumption is whoever is in charge of the school board's personnel and maintenance of county school buildings is the person who went out and did it at the instruction of Dr. Langford or Mr. Long. That's the assumption. I think it's a safe assumption.
Well, the problem is it's, for me, when I look at, I'm going to the codicil now. Okay, when I read the codicil, the county is to maintain the park with the historic home currently situated thereon being permanently maintained by the county, not the school. So apparently something is stopping the county from doing what they're tasked to do legally by this codicil. That's what I'm saying. I'm just like, it seems like something is inhibiting what you guys are supposed to do. And is there not some legal recourse that would grant you the jurisdiction to go ahead and go in there and do what you're supposed to do? Go ahead and get the house, maintain the house. It says maintain the home.
To his point, that's kind of where I was going, and I guess I'll direct the question to Dustin is, why don't we just keep on proceeding and see who comes out and stops us? But why has TDEC stopped us? Because a question was asked, or why did they say stop?
So TDEC, when we reached out, we didn't know who put up the signs. We started back. And as soon as that came along, the email thread, you'll see where it says from Ed, do not do any construction, do not proceed, because this is, right now, we think of the buffer zone. So.
What buffer zone?
The riparian buffer zone that we're talking about.
That was actually registered. The riparian buffer zone has nothing to do with these signs?
Correct.
It's actually a real thing where
It's a real thing. The signs are a separate issue. What we know about the signs is the sign debate is the signs were not placed by TDEC. We have been told by the mayor, I believe, that the county didn't do it, and that leaves the school board. But we still do not know who placed those signs out there.
The riparian buffer zone?
That's markings of some of it, yes.
And
so, going to Stephen's point, the codicil on the will predates TDEC doing anything here, and the school doing anything here, and the instructions were to do this. So, whoever the consultant was failed to do this. TDEC failed to take that into account as well, legally, the codicil that was existing. So, all parties involved failed to actually look at what legally was set as a precedent, in my opinion. I guess that's how I see it. I might be oversimplifying it. So, your point. So, the question is like, I guess, what's next for TDEC? Obviously, the law director is going to get the information that they're withholding from us wrongfully. And so, like, you talk about they have to redraw boundaries. Your email talks about this. And Steve,
so the school system has hired the data group to be their consultant, who is responsible for submitting all documentation to TDEC.
So what prohibits the county from doing the same and hiring our own consultant to redraw and do this since we're covered in, since it's a joint checking account? We both can write checks out of the county.
I'm not saying you can't.
Okay. So what, well, the citizens would be interested in seeing what vote.
my question is, if you back up a little bit, like, let's pretend Mr. Brown didn't die. This work would be continuing on. It was his property. It's just a different ownership. Why is all this happening? And I have a feeling it's because Plan B, somebody triggered something to make something out of nothing, and they created an issue that's not an issue that could be tied up forever. It could take as long as it wanted to take. So I don't understand why we don't proceed just as a new owner with the same property, guy wants to fix his house up, he's gonna go fix his house up, you know? I mean, I'll do it on my property, you do it on your property. I don't understand what changed with regards to the lay of the land and everything else, is because the house changed names. So,
It's the project, it's the building of the school that changed everything. And we both own the property, the county did and the school board did, all right? The property switches over. The schools go in, they do this big plan, they get with TDEC, they get with everybody they need to permit this and have it built, okay? And they do it on the complete swath of land. I guarantee you the county wasn't involved in that. So they had full run with all their applications and their permitting. So once that was done, that creates this map and this whole area we're talking about. Please interrupt me if I'm wrong.
You're good.
So this gets created. After the fact, we get into the deal with the will, where I find that codicil problem. And then it creates its own problem. And at the very same time, the school board is trying to submit their Martha Brown Park with the amphitheater and everything. So they run a plat through. And I guarantee you that plat has something to do with this as well. But they had to get our approval as co-owner of the property, so commission ran it through and they got them approved under the guise, I believe, of finishing. Sewer, that's right, to bring up sewer, because the sewer had to be done to get the roads finished out there and everything else. So the county commission approved it. Then there was and it also included the park, I believe. So then the codicil comes up again and it's revisited that this is a county issue, even though the stuff is jointly owned. So all of this TDEC stuff got put into play long before this ever happened. Now, we're wanting to figure out what exactly we can do, and that's when TDEC says, pull the reins on the horse, stop everything.
so not only was the house disregarded in the plans of the park, it was disregarded with the plans of the whole school.
We know that because of certain grants that were out there, that house was specifically excluded from the park. If you look at the school's own documents, they specifically had to write it out because that grant wouldn't cover the house. Am I correct in that statement?
Yeah,
That's correct, sir.
yes.
So that's why this went down the way it did. Who put the signs up? I mean, I have no legal basis. I have no legal basis to make this comment. But yeah, somebody's running front here, trying to make this as difficult a process as possible.
Okay, but for the record, and for the listener and watcher, this is TDEC's definition and purpose of a riparian buffer zone. A riparian buffer zone is a protected area along an on-site water resource, there is not one there, that can be temporary or permanent. Its primary function is to physically protect the water resource, which there is not one, and to act as a separator between the water body, here again not one, and disturbance. Though not a sediment control, riparian buffers provide water quality benefits through filtration by the vegetation. These zones also protect banks and promote bank stabilization by slowing construction site runoff with vegetative resistance.
So how are they gonna call it riparian buffer when they go out there and sprout that poison all over everything and kill all the growth,
Well,
and it runs down in there?
It gets worse, it says appropriate applications. Streams, wetlands, ponds, and reservoirs are required to have riparian buffers.
None of these are those.
Well, then, none doesn't apply to anything, and the stream's on the other side of the road.
It's all lonely.
I think you're gonna need to get into offsets and credits now.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, explain to me what's their holdup.
So their holdup right now is they're looking to see how much area we have actually contributed to runoff area due to the schools being built and where that runoff is going to go. So the question is that runoff going into this riparian buffer to where the gullies are that are dry?
No, I can tell where it's going to Anthony Jones's house and his cow pond.
Yeah,
and flood
that's
him
exactly
out.
right.
Going to Long Haul Pike and going across Upper Station Camp and flooding the neighbors' fields across because they did such a crappy job of their engineering and those detention ponds up there at the top. That's where it's going.
They took 3
They're flooding out the neighbors down below the hill.
Storm drains.
They took
created two and got rid of the third one and paved over the two and made them into storm drains and asphalt. So that's why he lost his back water source and is now getting bombarded from the front side that doesn't have any kind of plan.
Yeah, they diverted water way above and beyond what is allowable by, they basically took his water rights.
None of the water goes to that low spot. I mean,
We know where the credits went.
It's all going to
But
asphalt.
it's flooding out, and that's a problem as well, because we've all been out there multiple times, and Mr. Jones emailed us all, sent us videos, photos of how it runs, and he's always got a backhoe out there who's trying to fix his problem. It's a mess.
Wouldn't it, if this reptile buffer zone, if it all works around the waterways, wouldn't that be on the other side of the road where the creek is? I mean, there's a culvert that goes under this, right? Everything that washes off this hill. There's no, well, there is now. There used to just be grass. Now there's ditches, gullies that are this deep.
Well, they dug those gullies.
No, I'm talking about on the hill where when they poisoned everything. He's washing. There's places up there that's 30, 40 foot long that are 2 foot deep.
Wouldn't that be a violation?
I mean, that's what it's doing. I mean, it don't take a real smart person to know you take all the grass off something, it's gonna make a gully. But, I mean, here's where all that should be, and it's all growed up, and it follows the creek. So let me ask you something real quick. In the very start of this, the house is not in the reptile buffer zone, right? Yeah, well, it's a reptile.
Right now, if you were to look at my email from Friday, they said it was, and then they came back and corrected it and said, no, it's not.
Okay.
But they didn't tell us how far we could go
Around the house.
And how to get to the house.
Right. It was basically based on that. The house is not in that zone, but being able to get to it is an issue. We can always just use a helicopter.
Would this all be okay if the house was in a different zone? Is that the problem, main problem? Being house,
Your main problem right now is,
something different?
I mean, if you're looking at it,
I'm looking at the color code, you'll see
Okay.
the key.
the green, you didn't want to be in green because that's restricted, meaning
Right.
that you can't tear anything
Right.
down. We're in the open space of Parks and Lawn, which means that we can.
Well, we should be in the developed, we should be in the red, it's a functional house, it's always been functional for 200 years.
Pre-existing development.
So right now, they still have,
See that?
I'm on a 3 over wrench. So you got two key players. You have TDEC, and then you also have the consulting group that the school is paying for that came up with this.
Is this BDY? Is that the consulting group in here?
That is the consulting group.
This is who the schools paid.
Yes.
When did they, when they hired them, or is this predates, is this recent, or is this?
That one, I want to say it goes back to 2022, but I cannot guarantee that.
I've been on the board for 3 years, I've never heard of that.
So,
I've never even seen anything.
So this is not the David group, that's a new one.
you have the Davy group, and then you have another group that's working on it. It's mine.
This one?
Okay. So
They're working with
a
the
different one? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so they
That's
did it.
the one we voted on this.
Purposely excluding the house.
Okay. That was
Because there was
the
no impact to the
sewer
house.
plant.
So we need to revise this and let TDEC know there's a functional house sitting right there, it just needs some repairs, been there for 200 years.
You can talk about it today,
It would have been a plat, and it was when y'all did your full proposal for the ADA. Okay.
Because it was holding information.
I'll have to check.
Okay, I'll see what I can find tomorrow.
TDEC's changed.
They had a high staff turnover, so everybody that's originally associated with this process,
Come across.
whether it's TDEC, Davy Group, they have, or even for us, Sumner County, they have all.
Wow.
They've had a high turnover rate.
Oh,
It's turnover.
coincidentally.
Yeah,
So did you answer the question about the credits?
Oh, yes.
What is credit?
Okay, so the credits, exhibits are, if you are at a school, okay, and you build an impervious surface, at that point in time, you're gonna have to offset the water that was supposed to go there and put it elsewhere.
Gotcha.
And so that's what they were doing.
So that's what this is right here, and that's what this is right here.
The green areas. So basically, it's supposed to go here, and then the water's supposed to run off and go into the green areas. The forested areas.
That's what they killed of all the grass with poison, nothing there. That is,
Okay, that's another problem, because all the water is running southwest.
David, you and I were out there, and there was retention and detention ponds in these white areas, weren't there?
Everything is all over here. There's a major waterway that goes under Wolfpack Way right here. Everything
I'm
water,
talking about the natural stuff, the forgiveness and credits.
you know, it rains here and it moves very slowly because it's not that.
Mike, where's your house?
Right there.
Not white.
The white one there?
Yeah, that's my room.
That is, big white square.
Or that's the best I can tell, that looks like my house. Everything, there's a little natural waterway that runs right down the side of my yard and back over the back quarter. And it runs, and it runs down, it goes across the people directly behind me and dumps right into that little creek right there. And then our neighborhood's on a little hill. And everything on my side of the neighborhood runs across my backyard. Every drop of rain that comes, I mean, I've had lakes sitting back there. So, but it all ends up right down the creek.
So when David says we don't know where they are in the process, what is going on right now? Are they revisiting this and trying to remap it and recolor code it to?
Based on our conversation, they are in the process of reviewing the information that Mr. Long has sent, as well as the David Group, to them.
Which is why we need Eric to get access to.
Which is what you're asking Eric to get access to.
And we don't know how different they are.
That's right.
Things, okay.
We can do right now, we're waiting to find out what's going to be, so that's what I was trying to tell him, all your discussions you're having right now, really the most point is to find out where it's going. We enter that count, we
did vote on it, I remember.
You weren't in the room when it was asked, this question was asked, but did you by chance ask why we couldn't have access to the information that they're submitting?
Justin was talking to him, I understand, Justin told me from
They just said they couldn't.
they're a new group, and they don't have all the information they're trying to find.
You see it right
So they
there,
kind of came
excluded
back
as the
in,
brown
discussion. Justin's been sending them email asking for information, they're working with him, but they don't have it.
Is there a handoff being done by BDY to David?
It means
Are they working
it's
together?
excluded from the presentation, the layout.
Because I'm not.
That'd be another way to muddy this up is by
It's not part of it.
people.
It's not part of this, okay. It's not part of the part they proposed.
Taking that for granted, he had no really plan.
What's enough, because we just want for the public to know what's going on, because we're just,
They were gonna
get up to Monday.
The wheel money, match it with the grant,
Basically on the bid,
and
what
then create that
we
behemoth
found
of
out two things.
whatever it was.
What you got going right now, we can't get it. Number two, we don't know how long this is gonna take, a month, a year, 2 years, we don't know. So there's no way to move forward with this bid.
Well, I can take a guess on what they want to take, but.
Send that to David, would you?
That's the boundary map that we voted on in April of '23. I think that was April of '23.
I have one more question. All the property down there in front of the house and all of the back of it, is that supposed to be, I have a problem with little dots and colors because I'm colorblind. So,
The biggest area
All
on there
this-
is green,
all this up in here, right, is the
forest.
forest area.
Was it even the grass?
Yeah, I know, but it was, after they killed it this spring, it is now grow back, it's nothing but weed, mostly Johnson grass.
About head high.
About head high. Well, they went up there and bush hogged it.
When?
About 2 months ago. They bush hogged everything around behind the school, besides the school, and right up to the property of the Brown house, all around it. They did all that.
In the no mowing zone?
In the the mowing zone, yeah, in between the no mowing
Just to
zone.
make sure.
Yeah, those signs were there, of course, depends on how you look at it, all those signs are protecting those little dry gullies, is what I call them, tree lines, whatever. They're all pointing It's what you can do to
So-
get by with.
Marching orders, obviously Eric's gonna get with you, so we can get with TDEC to get the information to find out what this memo is about for the May 15th submittal for the aquatic resource alteration permit on May 15th. And find out what all's been submitted, what's been asked for, what triggered this, to try to, at least at this point, public perception is that it's to try to stop us from doing this project, not to help us move along with this project. So I hope it can be proven wrong. Which would be great to have this information to prove us wrong on that assumption, or prove us right. So I know that's an order, and once, I guess, Eric can find that information out, we'll have more data for you guys to look at, and then we can have another follow-up meeting to make us aware in a couple weeks of what's happening. But any specific questions about this permit that we don't know anything about, the zone, I guess, the criminal file, TDEC, anything specific for Dustin or Eric right now, because we got it for another 14 minutes. I have a question. Does the riparian buffer, is the road in that? Or is that,
You talking about his driveway?
yeah, that
Road, you mean driveway?
the driveway, like getting to the property, getting to the building?
It's right here.
Is that,
No, you can actually see it on the map.
Yeah, it's kind of,
It's in the gray area, which is it's in like nothing land. Like, so the driveway literally goes from nothing to what they're designating as open space for parks and lawn, where the house is sitting. I don't know if they're planning to bulldoze the house or not. But yeah, that driveway is not included in anything. It's free and clear.
so we
At least by this map.
so the only thing that is keeping us from going up that drive is these signs, I guess, right? Keep out. The
No,
signs.
there's nothing keeping us from going in there.
Okay, so we can get to the house.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's the question I have, because the driveway's not in the zone. Eric and Dustin corrects me wrong, and the house is not in the whatever zone. It's in the open space.
However, if they had to increase the buffer for the email from TDEC, if they had to increase the buffer closer to the house, then they could encroach it
Part of the request from Don Long.
due to the debits and credits of building the school.
Well, that would just prove, I mean,
They
if they did
can't-
that,
they
they had no intent of ever.
Well, they can't
fixing the house.
swallow the house in a credit, so, right? To do that, they would have to destroy it.
Predates the state of Tennessee.
I'm just telling you.
I know, don't you know that, but we're talking about something that predates the state of Tennessee, this plot.
Well, you bring up a point that has been brought up already. One, let's get over the TDEC hurdle first before we start throwing in the fact that you're wanting to tell us what we can do with the piece of property that existed prior before this law or TDEC existing.
Correct.
So yes, that would be an avenue we would go down, but we gotta get some clarification on this TDEC thing, because we may not need to go down that road.
This is my fear, though. Everything they're submitting and talking about for excludes the house. It always has. And if they apply for a credit they need for the schools, they could swallow up that house and that credit. And nobody still knows to this day that that house is there. And now that house is in a zone that can't ever be used, because you just put a water trough.
I don't know, we're what if in this until TDEC gives us something, and I'm able to find out what was submitted.
okay, let me just say, as a former builder, consultants want to make their customers as happy as they can, and they will bend the rules, provided they don't lose their license in the process, to make the customer happy. We need a seat at the table with the Davies Group or whatever. Davies Group? What, Davies Group? Okay. So, or BDY, whoever. We need to be a part of the conversations, because I guarantee you the rules of, there is no riparian buffer zone next to that house. There's no running water. It's a low area that's maybe a little more moist than the land 30 feet away from it. When it rains. And so we need to be able to control what's going on there as well as the school, because I guarantee you this is a stall tactic. We are being taken advantage of, and they're counting on the fact that we won't
question. So the thing that stopped the RFQ process was that this riparian buffer information was not included in their bid information.
Correct.
So they're gonna want that, I assume?
That would be a change of scope, so yes, that should be
Okay.
disclosed to any applicant.
Meaning what, they'll have to work around something, and that's the scope change could be minimal, could be
Environmental
nothing,
design,
could be a lot.
landscape design, landscape engineering, how you put the drive, how you put a parking lot, we need one. It affects all the, put lighting, running electrical utilities, if we need to revamp those, sewage, water, and.
How does it affect electrical and structural?
Well, it's all existing, I don't know.
That's because if you're disturbing dirt, you could be required to put up certain fencing, like silt fencing, stuff like that, because of the buffer. There could be extra issues that you have to take into account in how you do the work.
A lot of this just doesn't make sense, so, like, why we couldn't just put somebody living in that house?
There used to be a really pretty riparian buffer around the house before they built that school there.
So can a riparian buffer be modified to accommodate something, like a construction project?
That's what kicked all this off.
Yeah.
So the question is, you're gonna follow up, I guess we need to find out who can we get as our own consultants to go ahead and do the same thing, on our end, just do it, so this is what we're doing. Because we have the council on our side, and the House predates the state of Tennessee, approximately, or at the same time thereof. I was like, listen, this is a pre-existing house, it's obviously grandfathered into anything that TDEC ever could do. And we're restoring a home, we're not building anything new, we're not creating anything new, we're literally just restoring an existing home and not adding or detracting from the footprint.
That's what I don't get. I don't get it because
That's what doesn't make sense about it.
what doesn't make sense to me is how this all went down. When I read this thing, I mean, anybody with a second-grade education can read exactly what it says.
We know what literacy.
It says the county gets the $500,000. The rest of it goes to the schools. For some reason, they boxed it all up. They put it all together. There had to be some plan for doing that. But this is very clear. The county gets the sum of $500,000 to establish and maintain a public park at 1200 Lane, with a historic home situated thereon, being permanently maintained by the county, not the schools, the county as the park's centerpiece.
Well, that's a good.
So why not,
We'll have any.
why can't they, why is someone trying to stall the county from maintaining this building? That's what I don't understand. Well,
I think that they probably take it, shuffle it to the back, put it in the background.
yeah,
Get all the money in one account, and then not ever have to think about it again. Maybe if the house gets struck by lightning, maybe the house would burn down, maybe something would happen at the time again, they wouldn't have to even worry about it.
I mean, that's a good point. I mean, I know there, at one point, there was information being propagated that the $500,000 was supposed to be part of the principal of the school. What they got, and that was the only money that could be spent out of the principal. That was false. That was not true.
Who thought that was that?
I believe the director of schools. So that was not true. It was, at no time was that true. It was always intended to be a separate deal.
Correct.
So my question is, why can't we, if we have
The authority.
the authority to do it, why can't we just get in there and do it? That's my question. That doesn't make sense to me. So
The question is, how can TX stop us from doing it? I guess that'd be the question. Because of the will, the codicil of the house, grandfathered in, pre-existing, the road's already there. Like, how can TDEC prevent us from doing that technically?
That's what I'm saying.
I don't understand. I guess we're pushing back. It's still, nobody can come to a logical conclusion of understanding that we hear what you're saying, but none of it makes sense. So we're asking, how can they stop us?
Right, because if it's your house or my house, we would just do it. It's just changed ownership.
But I mean, I understand you talk about credits and stuff. This house, I just don't get it. How did they have the authority to do it, is my question.
I mean, if you're looking at the authority, I mean, if you go back to that sign, it says, there could be fines. Now, they have not fined anybody yet, and we don't know exactly what could transpire from it.
Until we find out what the fines are.
So,
well, I'm on the school board. Can I not go up in there if it's from the school board? I mean,
If what's from the school board?
those signs that say, keep out.
Well, I'd love to know who planted them.
I mean, if I'm on the school board owns that property. I mean, if you're an owner of a property, you put out a no trespassing sign, it doesn't apply to you, you're the owner. So
No, I don't disagree with your y'all's stance on working on the house. My only problem is this: I do not want to run afoul of any of the work that the county's doing, messing with TDEC and what they say we can and can't do, because I don't want to be spending money on something that's a
that's why we're
waste.
trying to figure out what authority TDEC has to, knowing that.
They have authority because somebody that owns the property already went out there and said, hey, tell us what we can do. And TDEC said, here's your boundaries. Now we're having to figure out where exactly those boundaries affect this house and if it can be moved.
So I guess we're asking you, since we are co-owners of everything and have equal rights, to say the same thing to TDEC.
Exactly.
The exact opposite. So we're asking you to go do that.
Yes. But I'm just trying to get us past this, well, we'll just go right down there tomorrow and start working on this house. That's the only part we're trying to sidestep here. Because we have just as much a right as a county going onto that property as the school board.
Here's what's in process, and I know you guys have to go there. This gal that I talked to at TDEC today, she said, we are waiting for the consultant to bring a revised plan into us. When is that going to be? I don't know, we don't know, whenever it shows up.
Because they can stumble out there years. I guess we
Absolutely, and then I said, how much time do you have as TDEC when do you expect to turn it around? She says, we don't know until we see what they bring. So, if they are sincerely trying to redesign the waterways,
it's been 4 months, no action.
there's been no action. We need to bring this to a head.
So, Dustin was just sharing with me, he's got a penciled in drawing of where the house is. Although the house is right on the white stone, it backs up to the green, but it is in the white. It's an access issue, interrupt me if I say something wrong. It's an access issue of where we go in and out, and it could be across that green, it could be in the white. We don't know yet.
Right now, we know, we don't go there.
Right, we just don't go to the green, we go to the white, make our own access point, go through the white.
We don't know.
But we also don't know what he's doing when he applied for a change in this. And I say, who cares what he's doing? We operate with what we have and go in there with where we know we can go.
Why we care is because they can change it for the worse.
We still proceed with trying to figure out where they're changing it. And like you said, we have a seat at the table say, no, that doesn't work for us. That may work for you, but we got a plan here.
Right.
It's already been voted on by the whole commission. We're proceeding with this. You got to do something else.
Right.
That's where we get to see the table, but it shouldn't stop what we're doing because we have just as much authority as they do, if not more. I would say more because we're charged with the caretaking of this house.
Not
The ongoing,
but the 85-acre park, too.
the ongoing maintenance, not the push pause for 8 years, let it fall apart, and then start maintaining after the fact. We should have been taking care of it all this whole time. We should be doing it now.
Well, they got to go, I know. Anything else for us right now? I guess any further comments or closing comments?
Well, Dustin and I will talk to TDEC, and I'll get some more firm answers. I have not been a party to the conversation. I've been a sounding board for questions or anything, but I will participate in the next one. And I'll make it very clear to them also that if they can submit a packet, then we can sit here and tell you to pull it.
Well, there we go.
So that's going to be very much my stance when I have this conversation with TDEC. But I still need clarity before y'all start throwing money at this thing.
But also, they need to know that if this doesn't interfere with our plan, we're leaving it alone and we're going on. We're not going to wait anymore.
They don't care as long as we don't violate the buffer.
That's what I'm saying, and this is what
Why would I tell them?
right now, right?
I don't know. I have to find out because they've got something submitted. They're not gonna get into lockstep with us until they've done this whole process.
But this is BDY's, this is what they say. We need to find out from TDEC what they say is current, right?
we're gonna have to make sure everything comes together.
So we want current from TDEC, where the zones are, and we also want whatever they've submitted. We want two things, right?
Yes, I get all that.
Okay, that's what you're working on tomorrow.
Yes.
And your current from TDEC doesn't interfere, tell them we're a hard stop on everything else, and we're gonna keep on going.
That's gonna be what I throw out there. I'm gonna try and throw a wrench in the works. Because if they can take an application because they're an owner, then they can stop it because we're an owner.
Correct, so we're looking at, didn't authorize, I mean, some contact, two different things to be approved, and this is Poland, so they're basically just changes, they gotta get changes based on another 2 hours.
The constable should be.
I think you have 440.
I don't disagree with any of that. My only hiccup on all of this is TDEC and their stance right
I
now.
would take the codicil with you to.
Well, it sounds like we know someone.
I don't, look, TDEC doesn't care.
They need to know that we have.
They do not care.
Authority in charge with.
They'll see it on the deed, and if the schools had to submit a deed, they'll get that. And I don't mind sending them a deed, but at the end of the day, if you own the property, they don't care.
It's joint ownership.
They don't care. It's much like yes, it's joint ownership.
of the property.
And, it's just like whoever brought up the checking account analogy. If you have access to the fund, if we're both on it, we both have equal access to all the funds.
Both close the account.
Okay, so he's on that.
Yeah.
Early and.
Well, I'm gonna kick it off. I'd like to get home first.
I'm asking my next meeting, whenever he finds out something, we're up against Labor Day, it's gonna be a lot, it'll be even early tomorrow.
Assuming this Ad-Hoc doesn't get canceled.
Well, it's a state agency. It's Friday before Labor Day, so I'm sure they'll all be there hopping and skipping ready to work. So
I just don't know where they're gonna enter.
I got a motion to adjourn.
And number two, and never tell us.
All in favor, aye? Aye.